Well, let's talk about solidarity for a second, because it seems to me there's very different conceptions of what solidarity means in this day and age. I don't want to say there's a disagreement, but I find there are like two distinct ways that you can see on display of what people believe to be solidarity. For one part, it is just listening, staying at home, not going out, to show solidarity with all the people you could infect, all the health workers, all the staff that needs to work in these times. I would say standing at the window, maybe seeing your fellow citizens get arrested because they were outside in a group of 3, or getting fined because they left their home without a significant reason. Speaking up against that, maybe even leaving your flat and telling the policeman how wrong it is to be arresting that person. To me, that's solidarity. I find there's such a huge divide between how politicians use the word solidarity and how we oftentimes just non-thinkingly repeat it, and for what it really means to stand in unison with someone. To taking a stand generally should be a tough thing to do. I mean, that's the only reason it feels like you're taking a stand. It feels like something significant, is because it's not easy to do. We admire people that took a stand in history because they went against the establishment, right? They went against what everybody was doing because they recognized that it was wrong. It seems to be true that doing the right thing is unpopular, and it doesn't, I don't know, I don't even want to say it doesn't feel good, because it does feel good to speak up. It's just maybe uncomfortable at first. And so many people have that, even if without being able to pinpoint that shit. I read people saying like, I just have a giant lie detector or a giant bullshit meter, and it just goes off constantly these days. And I'm like, trust that, man. Trust that. Our understanding is not just intellectual. I know it's a controversial statement to our modernized, left-brained, fact-based world, and I love facts. I love facts. I love science, as in the scientific method, where you constantly observe, measure, and repeat things until you can make accurate observations about it. It's part of why I'm so skeptical about the media coverage, because if you look at the pattern, the historic pattern, if government wanted me to trust them again, they need to be like news anchors on the TV that are now like, look, we as journalists have caused enough reason for you to not trust us anymore. But here's why you should trust us, all right? For instance, we're not just using fear-inducing language anymore. We are actually trying to present these things calm. If any of that would happen, the way the words they use, how many times they say this is the invisible enemy. Journalists in Germany, independent journalists, who cannot just enter the hospitals to just check on site themselves. All requests must go to the centralized press office. I mean, if that's not dystopian, if that doesn't ring bells, 1984, holy shit, centralized. This is like the worst nightmare of either communism or National Socialism. People always, present it like these were two opposites or whatever. But National Socialism is also socialism. It even says it in the name. It's just socialism, hardcore, focused on the nation, and then with all this race rhetoric and blah blah blah. But it's still socialism. It's a centralized authority, just redistributing the wealth. Obviously, I'm way past debating which political system is the right one, and it's all socialism if there's a centralized authority, really. I know the way the socialists use it, it's like to be social, right? To have solidarity amongst people, to help each other out, etc., etc. Yeah, well, fine, call that socialism, but why do you need a system? Helping people out, being helpful to others, showing solidarity, that is a personal choice that you make, like everything you make in life. If you want to show your solidarity with someone, then tell them, show them. We are not showing solidarity by standing on a balcony and clapping. This collectivist solidarity, it's this comfy solidarity, It's this comfy solidarity that requires you not to do anything. Like collectivism in general doesn't require you to do shit. That's why I hate it so much. It's all fancy words, but no substance. Because everything you do, everything that's meaningful is a personal action. It's like it happens in your head, and then you either speak based on that or you act based on that, which is wisdom, because wisdom always has the acting component. If it's knowledge acted out, it is not vision asking somebody else to do that. You cannot guarantee that they will execute your vision. They can promise whatever they want in their papers, and it can chime with your vision. But there are millions of people expecting that to happen. It cannot. It's an illusion. It's an illusion that human life could be broken down into bullet points significantly enough for there to be millions in agreement. It's ridiculous to assume that. You see it now in this day and age more than ever, I think. People standing at their window, looking at people, phoning the police, reporting people. 2 guys were arrested recently for weed possession. You know how they got caught? A neighbor was watching some guy entering the flat and just not leaving for hours. I mean, you have to imagine that thought, to be standing there and looking at that and being suspicious of that. And then to waiting for a significant amount of time for you to then decide, okay, this person's not leaving anymore. They are not living in that place, so they are technically not allowed to go there. First, that they think this is something wrong. They think that the person entering there and not leaving is something wrong. They cannot even think as far as understand no one's getting hurt, right? They're harming no one by their action. Certainly not me, but no, I'm gonna take a stake in this now, and I'm gonna call the relevant authority, which the person did. Authority came, basically kicked in the door, weed all on the table. I mean, these people, they met to just, get high together. I mean, what else would you do in quarantine, right? I mean, there are a gazillion other things you can do, but don't blame anyone who in these times just wants to hang at their friend and just smoke a whole lot of pot. So they arrest these people, drug possession, blah, blah, blah. That person that's standing at the window, I wonder, do they think they're showing solidarity with all the people that they're protecting from potential people spreading the virus? Because that's not solidarity. Solidarity would be if my neighbor comes and says, look, man, this has ruined my business. I'm gonna have to sell weed to make up for it. Will you please not report me? That is solidarity. If I say yes, no, I won't. Or if all the neighbors say no, we won't. That is solidarity in light of a common enemy. I don't know, services. I continue to give yoga classes. I got a couple of, friends who they still want to do yoga. It's beneficial to them. It's good for their health. And I would like to continue providing that service. Please don't rat me out. I won't rat you out. And that to me is solidarity. So as you can see, there's like such a huge discrepancy, right? Obviously, it always gets back to the argument that you're protecting people, right? But that's why I find it so important that we establish the true threat that is presented by this virus. And forgive me, but no matter how I twist it and turn it, I cannot see that invisible enemy that is out there to kill us all. It's like people look to Sweden nowadays, where it's restrictions are hardly comparable to here, to make their version of reality. Again, it's like this cognitive dissonance, right? You're like, there are people out there and it seems to work, right? Like, how does this fit in my worldview that, no, the authority has all the wisdom? So people will go and like, yeah, well, they will see what's gonna happen to them. Like, they're gonna regret it later. Instead of being like, this is the normal way to deal with it, Because now, what cannot be imposed under the guise of health? Just think that through, It's like people ratting out on their neighbors, the scientists becoming an authority again. Scientists also once confirmed all the race-related things that were taught. The last time we had people ratting out on their neighbors and afraid of a demon that was sold to them by the politicians. Collectivist systems, they just give you an easy way to feel good. I mean, it starts with thinking that you're a collective that lives in a enclosed by borders, which are nothing but lines in the sand. Not even that. They are invisible imaginations, okay? It's not real. So you feel already connected by something that's not even real. And then, you see it in all that, like, I don't know, we achieved this, we achieved that, we won the war, we went to the moon, which nobody did. But now people are saying, look how we are getting through this crisis, because they see each other across the balcony, how how they're clapping for each other, and it's that safe distance that people want. It's the safe distance solidarity, right? Because it allows you to pretend like we are all in agreement about values, we are all in agreement, at least we should be. So no, there's no real need to do a one-on-one, face-to-face, hands-on meeting, you know, have challenging opinions clashing, and being able to sustain in that, to hold your position in that, and not being weak or like being triggered by all the things that clash with your worldviews, at the same time being able to calmly and rationally maybe say things that will trigger the other person, and then solving that intense clash. And then suddenly you see how the storm, it just subsides, and suddenly you're like, all right, you know, okay, like, that's just one example of an interaction that would happen with an individual. It's like so intense, there's so much involved in that, there's so much thinking going on, there's so much maneuvering, there's so much individual experience clashing, that the idea that we could organize millions of people, these dialogues in which we engage, when people say, you know, we need to have a dialogue about what this virus is, for instance. Well, yes, then have it with your neighbors, you know, have it with your neighbors. But when next time you see people going out there, 3 of them walking, maybe don't call the cops, maybe go out there and be angry at them. Be like, why are you doing this? If you don't separate right now, I will kidnap you. I will put you in a cage because I think you are harming society. Just imagining that should maybe get people a bit more, holy shit. That's what I'm actually, you know, advocating when I'm saying, I'm going to call the police. It's one of these things, you know, again, oh yeah, I'm so proud I got crime off the streets. No, you didn't do shit. You didn't do shit. You call police based off some fantasy that you live in, and now you're proud that they've been taken off the streets, and probably pat yourself on the back and be like, I did something right. But if you went down there, you know, and you'd had the courage to tell them yourself, look, I think you're harming society so badly, I'm gonna physically make you unable to do so myself. Maybe those people would be like, why? What do you think, mate? You know, why do you even want to do that? Do you even understand why we 3 are walking out here? We 3 can tell you now, one by one, why your belief in the coronavirus is completely out of proportion. And if you then still want to physically harm us or kidnap us, good luck trying. This is just a hypothetical of what it means to take personal responsibility and of actually interacting with the people in the democracy, right? We always say, you know, a vibrant democracy, it lives off the dialogue. It currently lives off people subscribing to one side of the political spectrum, shouting at people subscribing to the other side of the political spectrum. It's still, you know, like, conspiracy theorists are still just thrown into one pot with right wingers. I mean, I haven't yet really looked into it, how it all came to that, but I have this inkling that some of the classic right wingers, they might be anti-establishment, you know, and obviously they will co-opt anything that they can to discredit the establishment. But you need to discern that, you know. You can't just go like, oh, Taz is telling me this is like a German left-wing magazine, or even the public stations, you know, ZDF, which is a huge one in Germany. They put on their homepage now how to spot corona conspiracies, and the first point is literally like, don't go onto social media. And I'm like, go onto social media, because there you have all the opinions, right? A lot of bullshit as well, of course, but that's why you need a discerning mind. But don't stay off of social media, because at least on social media you'll have the full spectrum. So yeah, this is just another time where you see that collectivism is so detrimental to all the things that collectivists say they want, right? Solidarity among people, a dialogue in society. What are other nice things? You know, being there for each other, helping out. Man, these are all great things, but these are things that you just do. You just do good things. If you want to do something good, just do it. You will find out very soon that a lot of things you cannot even do because you don't have a license. And then starts the journey when you realize, damn, the state creates more problems than it solves. Far more problems than it solves. And then even the things that it solves are solved with money taken at gunpoint, which is oh wow, that's pretty hot. Holy shit. It's usually, you know, people are prevented via state ordinance from helping people out. Feeding the homeless. That's, in some states, that's illegal. You know? The state puts up spikes to keep people from sleeping on flat surfaces. These are government ordinances. If you look at the hospitals, you know, the old people, they don't get any fruit. They get like sweet, sugary stuff, cheap things that can just be bought in bulk and cheaply. And then and that's what they are fed with. And then the politicians have the audacity to tell you, we are doing all these corona measures to care about our elderly. All of these things should show you that it's a myth that the state is there to protect and help. Some places you get fined if you sell food because you don't have a business license, you know, and then they'll justify that, obviously, again appealing to your fear. Yeah, well, everybody needs a license to sell food to people because it could be so unhygienic. I don't know, man. We in the West, we live in such a sterilized world that they can also tell you all of these things, you know. I'm lucky. I have a lot of experience from India, you know, like where street vendors, they sell food, like when there's like, you know, dogs and cows eating through the trash right next to the street store vendor, you know, and people are fine. Generally, my stomach is just very upset, like in the first week. I mean, if I'm not careful, and I'm not careful because the food is just too great in India, but you go there and you eat, and yeah, first week my stomach is just a mess, but then I have the bacteria in me that I need to be living in symbiosis with the life there, you know, and that's even mainstream, you know, like that bacteria are not bad for you, you know, and like there's also a lot of talk about what viruses really are. And that alone, you know, you don't have to be like, well, you don't have to have the complete understanding of what a virus is. If you know there is not consensus, then that alone will make you look at the news differently, because you'll be like, why are they selling this to me like it was this thing when the scientific community itself is still debating what a virus is or whatnot. But it's worth, say, contemplating that by definition, you are responsible for what you do. Now, if you don't want to take that responsibility, fine, okay? Then say, I don't want to take that responsibility. I want somebody else to take that responsibility. I don't want to take the responsibility of devising a proper education for my child. I want somebody else to do that. If that's what you want to do, then yeah, okay. But then also say it like that. Don't say, I'm anti-democracy because I'm pointing out that the schooling system has been bought and is controlled. The curriculum is controlled. And that's just not education I want to expose my child to. And now you might say, yeah, of course, to teach your child however you want. But then, you know, well, they take away your child in some places if you don't send it to government schools. They take your child away. And majority will agree. Majority believes that people that withhold their kids from school, if it's presented by media in the right way, right? Media will say like, what cruel parents. They wanted to deprive their kids of that precious education. And where does this come from, that you think you have a stake in other people's lives to such a degree? Is it the cognitive dissonance, you know, that you always overcome when there's something the state does in your head and you're like, this is not right, but what do we want to do? What you want to do is then we decide to live with the contradictory thing that the cognitive dissonance tried to point out to us. Instead of solving the contradiction, we go and continue living the lie. Like, no, the state doesn't do everything right, but the only alternative I have is to admit that the state does everything right, because that's what I've been taught, so I'll go with that. And then you build up resentment because obviously you are not living truthfully, and then you hate everybody who does. This is just a crude theory made up on the spot. It's probably just bullshit, but that's why I launched my own channel, so I can indulge in some of my own bullshit. You know, and you just have to think it a bit further, right? Now, say they introduce mandatory vaccinations, it'll be the same dynamic. So there will be people that will not take that vaccination. I mean, if a mandatory vaccination comes for this coronavirus, I'm damn sure not going to get it. And then probably find myself in a situation where the majority will be like, I'm the enemy of society because I'm not making myself healthy to protect others. I'm not showing solidarity, right? I'm not protecting my fellow men by poisoning my body. And that's why collectivism is so bad, man, because it doesn't make you think for yourself, it makes you look, what do the others do? And you cannot be a responsible human being in that way, because the others might do stupid shit. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself, but it's also like the most relevant point in this day and age, I feel. So I do try and repeat. Look, man, all I'm trying to say is we are connected. We are one. That solidarity that you mean? That is that solidarity that you show in one-on-one interactions. How you treat one person. Like, you can make the grandest claims about your ideology, about what you believe people should have, about what you believe the poor should get, about what you believe the rich should be taxed at. But the true measure of your solidarity is shown by how comfortable you are just granting your neighbors all freedom, all trust, and all just benevolence, as long as they don't bother you. And it goes for the virus as well. No matter how much you want to say you're protecting society by imposing draconian measures on your neighbor, freedom is more important than safety. Because if it's not, maybe for now let's just say, if freedom is not more important than safety, freedom can be taken away on the grounds of saying it's for safety. And that's how freedoms have always been taken away. And this cannot continue. We need to stop this cycle. You know, safety is not the state of nature. Freedom is the state of nature. Government has, the most unnatural institution, has inserted itself and now claims it can sell you safety. It can't. Because what if there's ever a people again that, you know, that some politician tells you you need to be kept safe from? An entire people. We'd then also be like, oh yeah, no, we need to be protected from these people. They are murderous barbarians or whatever propaganda can make you believe. Will you then choose safety over the freedom of other people? I don't know. I like to think the answer will be no. A emphatic no. But history suggests it's an emphatic yes. And unfortunately even the present moment suggests that.